Cheapo theory. I mean, all these apps turn this into cheapos. Maybe the other platforms make me feel like a cheapo. Like it's cheapo. It's cheapo theory over there. It's cheapo theory. Like you gotta be a cheapo. You gotta do things for nothing. You gotta do a million of those things for nothing just to get some. No, we not cheapo this year. 2026. Put your your cheapo boots away. Put the cheapo boots away. They turned us into cheapos now. Like I see it with every category, even the music people. They cheapos now. Like cheap. Like they turn everyone into a cheapo. Something for nothing. Like when you're supposed to be making something out of nothing, they've given you nothing for something. Ooh. See, YouTube, who knows? They might become a cheapo too, but at least they kept their quality control. That's why a lot of us didn't like it here, because you gotta actually do here. And I respect it now because they've been standing so long. They might turn into a cheapo though. I listen, I don't idolize nothing. Trust me, I don't idolize nothing. Only Jesus. That's the only person I pray to every night. God. Okay? He sent his son for our sins. That's the only person I pray to every night. Nobody else. Nothing else. Nobody should be offended by me calling it cheapo theory, because real hoes ain't cheap. That's why they get mad when the cheap hoes come, because now they have to do things for cheap because they know that the customer's getting the cheap stuff over there. Why would the customer pay for that if they could get that over there? So I don't want to hear anyone offended by this theory. All right? My theory. Thank you. I came up with it just now. Thank you. Because they always saying, oh, everything's been seen and done on the internet. Not this. And if it has, I'm sorry. Maybe it will. I don't feel like it. I got to do research.